For more on the Maple Leafs, I am joined by a gentleman who should be on his vacation already, and yet we are holding that up somehow because we just wanted one more chance to chat with our good friend Jeff O'Neill, our hockey analyst, the former Maple Leaf. Jeff, it's been a busy couple of days for Brad Treliving. The first day, Leafs Nation's upset. It's just Reeves and Klingberg. Then he brings in Bertuzzi and Domi. Everyone's happy. But I just wanted to start by talking about the dressing room specifically. Every time you hear people talking about that room, Jeff, they describe it as a quiet room. A quiet room. And somehow this is not a good thing. So you bring in Reeves, you bring in Domi. Is it as much about bringing a little life into that room as what they're going to do on the ice?
I don't read a whole lot into a room being quiet, Jay. I mean, not everyone's a rah-rah guy. I played with one of the best players in the world in Ron Francis, and he wasn't running around screaming every game before the game, trying to hype the guys up. He just led by example and did all the little things and did everything right, and he was a great leader and led by example. I just do like it being something different. I think the visiting locker room attendance, I don't think over the last 10 years, whatever regime has been there, whatever group of players, I don't know if that visiting locker room attendant has grabbed too many ice bags after a win, after a loss. It's just like, let's get our 2 points, or we lost a game and let's get out of here. And I don't think too many people were feeling it. But if you look at the teams like Vegas and Boston and Tampa, and you can say what you want about it. You can call it childish. You can call it being a sore loser. But whenever you're going to take 2 points from that team, even if it's in preseason or the regular season, it seems like things get a little bit messy out there, where it's almost like those teams will acknowledge, you can get us today, you can take the 2 points, but we're going to make you pay the price a little bit, and we might take a chunk out of you on the way out the door.
Yeah.
And again, you can think what you want about that type of behavior or approach to an NHL hockey game, but if the best teams are doing it, why shouldn't everybody be doing it? If you're just like, and it's been talked about, visiting teams, Jay, I've talked about going into Toronto, and it's a very easy place to play. You don't get hit too much. So something different, I approve of that, that's for sure.
Okay, and then Max Domi, and I know you'll appreciate this as a guy who went to the States, drafted in the States. You were a star. You come back to your home province. You get to play for the Leafs. It's exciting for you. I know you love that. How did you feel when you saw that Max was signed? Because, boy, this kid really, really wanted to be a Maple Leaf.
I think it's great for Max. I can remember passing the puck with Max in practice when I played with his dad, Ty, in Toronto. And he was a super young kid. And I think he's got to look at this as just an excellent opportunity. I'm not sure who, it might have been Tree who said this could be the best version of Max. And I think that's the case. He's bounced around a little bit. I thought he was fantastic for Dallas in the playoffs, Jay. And he can really establish himself. What he does have to understand, though, is he's Ty Domi's son, and he's going to have the spotlight on him, and everybody's going to be watching. And he just has to forget about those expectations. They got Ryan Reeves there to go handle things like that. He just got to go play. And I think he can be the best version of himself playing in Toronto. It is a lot different with buddies around. For whatever reason, you've played a lot of games in the National Hockey League. When you come back to your hometown and play in Toronto, everything's just a little bit different. So he's got to get used to that, and I think he's going to be great.
The Tyler Bertuzzi signing, we know what he brings. We know it's another situation, as you just alluded to with Max, where it's a great situation where he can put up a bunch of points and potentially cash in next year, whether it's with the Leafs or with somebody else. Do you see that as the most significant move that Treliving's made this offseason?
I think it's an excellent opportunity for Bertuzzi as well. I think he's an A-plus version of Michael Bunting, and he's just a guy that has a better scoring touch. He makes better plays. He can play in the power play, the first unit power play in front of the net. He is that guy you want playing with frontline players, and once again, we're talking about intangibles too. He can put the puck in the net, he can play with great players, and there's a feistiness there and a competitiveness that's just been different in the past. So the whole look of it, there's still work to do, Jay. I think you look at their back end, their goaltending situation has to be taken care of, and that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I don't care how many teams think about they can go find an Aiden Hill and win a Stanley Cup. I don't know. It's pretty risky. If it works out, it's a great idea. But you still need to solidify that goaltender situation. And obviously, you've got the Nylander contract that's coming up a lot. So all that stuff's got to be dealt with.
Can I ask you about John Klingberg? We know what he brings. He's a right shot defenseman. They needed that. He's a power play specialist. They needed that. What I worry about, Jeff, is that he's a picture-perfect poster boy for that type of Leafs defenseman that the fan base gets on over time. Your Larry Murphys, your Hal Gills, your Justin Halls, to make a more recent example. I'm a little worried. He had a hard enough time in Anaheim where nobody cares. Nobody cares what he does. Now he's going to be in the spotlight. That's my concern. Do you have any similar concerns when it comes to Klingberg?
I'll tell you what, buddy, Maple Leaf fans, I don't think they love anything more than sinking their teeth into a defenseman that coughs the puck up a little bit. It's a pastime. It's a part of the bleeding blue. And Justin Hall was the victim of that, I would say, for the last couple of years. So he's got to step in the right direction if he can just say to himself, watch some clips of Justin Hall possibly coughing the puck up. I don't know. Maybe some poor shifts. And for a starting point, he's got to say, I got to be better than that. But he's got to find his game again. You talk about him as an offensive defenseman. He can create plays. He can surely carry the puck across the blue line and get the puck to the net. We've seen that a bunch in Dallas. But where he's got to focus on, like, he's a big dude. He's got to be strong in his own end, because that D-core in itself, it's not exactly tough and physical. We keep going back to the Vegas D-core, Jay, where they're so big and they're so strong, and they protect their goaltender in front of the net. I don't think of Klingberg as that guy, but he better start being some type of version of that guy, because if he's going to go back there and be terrible in his own zone, he's going to have a tough time on the ice and what people have to say.
There's no doubt about it. Craig Button was on the show yesterday. He failed to commit to my question whether or not the Leafs were better or worse than when they lost in the second round last year. So I know you're much more of a black and white guy. You're going to tell me, do you believe this Leafs team is better than the team that lost to Florida in the second round last year?
Well, I will say, like, I can't answer. I'm going to say they're better, Jay, but there's still work to be done. And I think they're going to be better in the future. And that might be a couple weeks away than they are right now. But I always talk about the intangibles. I'm not exactly the puck possession specialist. And it's just, for it to look different is already a step in the right direction for me. So I'll say they're better. And hopefully for the Leaf fans, they'll be even better in a couple of weeks.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Just one more for you, buddy. Lots of teams busy. Carolina made some cool moves. Our old buddy Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh was very busy. Detroit, Stevie Y, very busy. Was there any one team that you were very impressed with, or any one player, one move that you particularly liked over the last few days?
I think you just brought them up, and it's my other old team, the Carolina Hurricanes. It used to be back in the day, and it was so frustrating because we had to sit and watch the Colorado Avalanche, the St. Louis Blues, the Detroit Red Wings, or the New York Rangers sign everyone, and we'd just be sitting there like, oh, I guess the guy we drafted a couple of years ago is going to be on our team this year. And it was never that fun because we weren't exactly a destination. I think people are realizing that Roddy Brind'Amour probably is the best coach in the NHL. He's a $10 million coach. If he's on the open market, somebody would pay that guy $10 million. And I know he's not getting that down there. But it's a great place to play. It's a great place to live. And the crowd is great. And I think people are starting to appreciate it. And it's being known around the league. It's a cool place to play. So I'm happy about that as well.
Not just that, but like the way Tom Dundon comes in and everyone's really skeptical. But he's almost like, I heard someone describe him as the Jerry Jones of the NHL, but in a good way. Like, he's involved. He's really involved, and he has a philosophy, right? I'm not giving out long-term deals. I'll pay the term, or I'll pay the average, but I won't pay the term. And it seems to be working for him. I mean, they haven't won yet, but they're definitely a Stanley Cup contender.
Well, we're going to see what his philosophy's about in a couple of years, because they got a lot of guys, a lot of key guys that are contracts are coming up. So whatever his philosophy about deals, term, money, we're going to see what that's all about in a couple of years, because a lot of those quality players are going to be coming up at the same time. So that team, that core of guys they have there might not look the same.
Listen, you look like you were ready for a summer vacation. You got a beautiful blazer on. You got an extra button undone. So I don't want to keep you any longer. I just want to say thanks, pal.
I actually already am on vacation. I don't know why, because my standard response was going to be, hi, I'm on vacation. But for some reason I said, yeah, no problem.
I know. I know. It must be that maybe you don't mind being on this show.
Yeah, and you're one of my good friends.
You're the best, buddy. Have a great summer, and we'll talk to you in the fall. It'll be all Rod Brindamore chat in September. We'll talk about how good a shape this guy still is.
All right, Jay. Thanks, buddy.